Good afternoon to you, Kaveh. So Chelsea have gone for Xabi Alonso, but why?
Because I think he was the outstanding candidate. Chelsea had a short list of around 4, 5, 6 names. They spoke to a lot of the candidates, but you have to say, with all due respect to the other candidates, that Xabi Alonso is the man with the best CV, not just as a player, but also as a manager. When it comes to his playing career, what he achieved at Liverpool, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, the fact that he won the World Cup and the Euros with Spain as well. He is an incredible character. We've been told that he has very high emotional intelligence. He's somebody who's got an aura about him. I think he's actually the kind of manager who Roman Abramovich would have appointed as Chelsea manager. Because, you hear a lot from Chelsea fans these days saying things have changed. Chelsea's not the club that it used to be under Roman. Under Roman, we used to go out and get the best. I think that's what they've done here. They don't want to experiment. They want somebody who has proven success as a player and a manager. And he has that, of course, at Bayer Leverkusen, winning the double. Leverkusen winning the title for the first time, being invincible in the season. And at Real Madrid, he won 24 out of his 34 games. His win percentage was something like 70%. He lost his job because of problems in the dressing room, because he clashed with some of the big egos in the Real Madrid dressing room, and ultimately the Real Madrid president backed the players and not the manager. I think going forward, Chelsea's dressing room can be difficult to manage.
There's big egos there as well, no?
Yeah, but not like Real Madrid.
Okay.
Not like Real Madrid. And also, I think those big egos at Chelsea will fall into line as soon as Xabi Alonso enters the building, because they'll look at him and they will immediately respect him and do exactly what he says. And also, they will know that the Chelsea ownership will always back Xabi Alonso because he is their man. And that's why they've given him a 4-year contract.
And how important was it that the ownership acted quickly and decisively as they've done here with Alonso? Because there's quite a few other clubs looking for managers as well.
I know, because, if you're into conspiracy theories, you could say, what's going on here? Why is it being announced before the end of the season? Why is it being announced within sort of hours of Chelsea losing the FA Cup final? Is there some media management going on? Is this about trying to get some good PR, change the narrative, don't focus too much on the fact that Chelsea have had a terrible season? Also, is it something to do with Liverpool? Liverpool in the background, maybe looking for a new manager. We all know that Arne Slot's still got a year left on his contract. He's come out and said he has every reason to believe that he's going to be in charge next season. So if you're a conspiracy theorist, you're thinking, have Chelsea moved really, really quickly to try and stop anybody else getting Xabi Alonso? That is a theory. I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think what's happened is that Chelsea have been speaking to Xabi Alonso for a couple of weeks. They've had multiple meetings with him and his representatives just to make sure that everybody is on the same page. Look, to be honest with you, if I was Xabi Alonso's agent, of course, I'd do my job. I would be talking to other people, making sure that, other opportunities, what's the best I can do for my client. But the thing is, he can only accept the jobs that he's offered. And there's no job available at Liverpool at the moment. I know a lot of Liverpool fans would like him back, but he wasn't offered that job. There is no job. Arne Slot is the Liverpool manager.
I wonder how bothered he might be if Alonso, next season they don't get Champions League football, but perhaps that's one to ask him in the future. And we did notice he's been labelled as manager, not head coach like his predecessors. Is that just semantics, or is there something to read into?
No, I think it's important.
Okay.
I think if you ask most managers, head coaches, what they would prefer, they would say, I prefer to be the manager, because manager gives you more authority. And I think Xabi Alonso will have more authority than a head coach at Chelsea. Interestingly, we've been told that it was Chelsea's idea to give him that title. He didn't ask for it. But certainly, you are right. He will have more authority, more input into all aspects of the running of the club. And I think Chelsea, just in the conversations they've had with him, they have realised that he has the personality and the character and the aura to be a manager and not just a head coach. And I think that's music to the ears of Chelsea fans, because what Chelsea fans will be saying is, we want a manager. We don't want a head coach. we don't want a yes man. We want somebody who is going to absolutely rule the club and rule the dressing room. I don't think that's going to be the case with Xabi Alonso, because he still has to fit into the structure.
Of course.
But I would agree with you. I think he will have more of a say, more input than quite a lot of his predecessors.
OK, so stroke of positivity there then for Chelsea fans after that defeat yesterday. Kaveh, for the moment, thank you very much. Kaveh Sodako, our chief correspondent. OK, let's continue to get more reaction to this then. And we'll speak to a Chelsea supporter now, Charlie Patrick. Good afternoon to you, Charlie. Good to see you. What do you make of this appointment then? Happy news for you this afternoon.
Yeah, some well overdue, welcome, good news at Chelsea in what's been a very, very difficult season, a difficult, really 3 or 4 years under this ownership. And look, I have to be honest, I doubted the club's ability to be able to pull off an appointment like this to get the best possible manager out there. Perhaps shows a bit of a change in tack, perhaps shows that maybe, at least in theory, some lessons have been learned from a number of mistakes that have been made over the last 3 or 4 years. But this is certainly, for me, the most elite appointment that we've made under Bluco, and it's probably the best decision that this ownership have actually made in the 4 years they've been at the football club. So yeah, absolutely delighted with it.
Yeah, OK. You mentioned that how they've gone about this, the hierarchy at Bluco, because they've gone from Liam Rosenior, who had very limited top-level experience, to someone like Xabi Alonso, who as a player was phenomenal, as a coach has really proved himself. What's the thinking behind the change in tact by Bluco here?
I think the thinking has got to be that, one, a lot of fan unrest. There's been a number of protests against the ownership this season. I think there's also an acceptance that Chelsea cannot continue on the same road that they've been on. You know, it's one qualification for the Champions League in the last 4 years. There's vast sums of money have been spent, and you cannot continue just doing what you've been doing and expecting to get any different results. So there has to be a change in thinking. That they've spoken about a period of reflection in that statement when they sacked Liam Rosenior. Only time will tell what the results of that reflection will be. And we have to see the action in the summer, and we have to see what players come in. But I think it's an acceptance that mistakes have been made, and an acceptance now that we have to change direction because what we were doing beforehand simply wasn't working.
Now, he's been named as manager. Is that significant? Because his predecessors were named as head coach. What difference will that make?
I mean, look, in theory, it's something that, you know, you wouldn't really be that fussed about. But I think from a Chelsea point of view, especially with what's been going on with the way that the club's been run over the last 4 years, and how the likes of Pochettino and Maresca certainly, walked out on the job, were fed up with kind of how the ownership were running things. I think this indicates, in theory at least, a significant shift, that Alonso is going to be more than someone who just coaches the players. He's not just going to have signings dumped on him. There is going to be a collaborative process. There's going to be him having a say in positions, him having a say in what players he wants. And that absolutely is the right thing. Of course, at the moment, it's all just talk, because we've got to see it actually in action, and we've got to see actual evidence of this happening. And hopefully that happens in the summer. But in theory, right now, at least it seems to be, a positive step in the right direction.
OK, so yeah, you think he'll have a say in signings and transfers. So that means a pretty significant summer ahead for Xabi Alonso. Do you think he'll have a big say in who he brings in? And might it help keeping big names as well in the dressing room already there, like Enzo Fernández, for example?
Yeah, look, I think it's, as I said before, it's impossible to quantify how big a say he's going to have until we see the business that is done. But without doubt, someone of Alonso's standing in the game, someone of his intelligence, is not going to take this job without having reassurances over transfers, without having reassurances over certain aspects of the recruitment. And in terms of him coming in as well, I think you're right. I don't think Chelsea are going to be able to keep all of our best players, but I certainly think his appointment goes a long way to maybe convincing players to stay at least one more season, those who maybe were thinking about leaving. He's someone that's going to come in and command the respect of the dressing room from day one, which is absolutely vital. That was a major problem under Liam Rosenior, not having the respect of the dressing room, players not respecting, him as an individual, which is something that cannot be allowed to happen. I really feel Alonso can reset the culture at the club, which, quite frankly, particularly under Liam Rosenior and certainly under this ownership, has deteriorated into something that's unacceptable for this football club. So yeah, look, I'm hoping he can allow Enzo Fernández to stay, Marc Cucurella. Those are the two that you've been looking at and thinking may have the best chances of potentially leaving the football club. So I'm confident that his appointment can do something to keep those players. But I'm also aware that at least there could be at least one major departure this summer.
OK, so this season hasn't exactly gone to plan, has it? I mean, there's still a chance you can qualify for Champions League. That's not mathematically impossible at this point. That's still possible. But next season, what are we looking at next season in terms of what you would deem as successful?
I mean, for me personally, until I see the recruitment, it's very difficult to put expectations on the season. But just straight from the off speaking right now, Chelsea at a bare minimum have to finish in the top 5 and get Champions League football. And I think more than likely we're going to be playing once a week. Obviously, we don't know what's going to happen over the last 2 games, but I suspect we won't get any form of European football at all. So for me, there also needs to be a domestic trophy delivered next season, or at a minimum, we've got to be making another final, whether that's Carabao Cup or League Cup. So that would be the expectations for me. Obviously, those might change depending on what players come in the summer. But right now, I think as a bare minimum, that's what Alonso's got to be achieving. OK, yeah, obviously, Champions League football's out, but they can still qualify for Europe, Chelsea. But, OK, Premier League season then. 2 games left, a massive night on Tuesday as well. Are you backing the players to really get themselves up for this one, potentially send Spurs on their way to the Championship as well? I mean, as fans, we'd love that. But, of course, we've seen this season that the performances just haven't been there whatsoever. We've turned up in the odd game here and there. And look, it's the final home game of the season. The home record has been terrible this season. We won 6 games at Stamford Bridge in the league out of 18 so far, which is beyond unacceptable. We usually do very, very well against Tottenham, but given our current form, we've not won in the last 7 league games. We've scored, a couple of goals in that period. So we're not in the best of form. But I'd like to think, look, Alonso's in now. He's going to be watching, so people are going to want to make a good early initial impression. It's a derby against Tottenham. It's a chance to potentially send them down. Like, if this group cannot get up for this kind of fixture, then that is a major, major concern. But I'd like to think we could produce something. But then I've thought that ahead of a lot of games this season, and the complete opposite's happened.
Yeah, I think you and a lot of Chelsea fans have thought that way. Charlie Patrick, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your comments.